So I was just eating food over here, and I was thinking about how much longer am I gonna have to keep making all these videos about Pastor Rodney and his disobedience, and Eric Gagnon and angel worship and disobedience, 25 years of disobedience. And the Lord said, you're almost done. So that's good. I don't have to, hopefully, I want this to be over with. I don't like getting online and getting angry every 5 minutes. Like I'll be all full of joy and just peace. And then all of a sudden, boom, something will hit me and I'm like, so I remember when I first heard Eric Gagnon's testimony that God had told him to launch out and start his own ministry. And he said to God, if it's your will for me to launch out and for us to launch out and start out, you're going to have to speak to my wife. And he said, like the very next day or that day, his wife came home. Jennifer Gagnon came home and said, honey, I think we're supposed to start our own ministry or something like that. And then he was up testifying before the church about that and how he went to Pastor Rodney to tell him, and Pastor Rodney said, you're needed here or something, and they decided not to go, whatever it was. And I was sitting in the audience going, wait a minute, what? You're telling me that God told you to go launch out in your own ministry, then he confirmed it, let all things be established by 2 or more witnesses. So the Holy Spirit witnessed to you, that's 1 witness, and then his Holy Spirit witnessed to your wife, that's 2 witnesses. And then Pastor Rodney told you not to go, you're needed here, and now you're, what? I was sitting in the audience going, huh? Like I was confused by it. Like I wasn't outraged. I was just like, wait a minute. He just said God told him to go start his ministry. And he just said don't go. And now they're not going to go. I was just like, huh? So then I had a vision. And this was like a year later. This was, okay, so they gave that testimony. When I heard that testimony, it was at, it was in the building at Bush Boulevard. Then they moved to the new building on MLK and right by I-75 there. And while I was there, I had a vision where the river at Tampa Bay Church was an airport. And there was all these planes in the, you know how when you get on a flight, the you can see that there's a plane taking off and it's going up, and you can see that there's 3 more planes ahead, and as they take off, your plane that you're in moves forward, and then eventually you come around, you swing around, and now you can see the planes that are waiting, and then you hear the captain say, okay, we're cleared for takeoff, and suddenly start going. Well, the vision I had back then, and this would have been 2001 or 2, was I saw a busy airport with a bunch of planes lined up to take off, and one plane just stopping on the runway. And that was Eric and Jennifer Gagnon. And that's when I really started getting angry, because I knew that I might not have been next in line. What I'm saying is, of the 100 evangelists that Pastor Rodney was supposed to raise up, which he never did, Eric Gagnon was supposed to be 001. And so I had a vision of this airport, and then there was pandemonium because, okay, looks like runway 1 is disabled. We're not going to be able to take off from runway 1. And all these planes started having to reroute and move around, and there was chaos at the airport because one guy and his wife decided to disobey God. Why? Because of angel worship, because of pastor worship. And I knew, somehow in my spirit, I knew it was going to affect my life. And keep in mind, the only reason I went all the way across the country to go to the river at Tampa Bay was because I was reading Pastor Rodney's little mini book that said, in that book, he said, God told me to raise up 100 evangelists. While I'm reading that book, the Holy Spirit says, you're one of them, go to Tampa. So now here I am, a year and a half later in Tampa, realizing that Eric Gagnon's not obeying God. Pastor Rodney's acting like he's above God, and that like he can tell somebody not to do what God told him to do. That was like, huh? And now it's gonna have a negative. And that's when I started prophesying. And it was the Holy Spirit. It wasn't just like I got angry and I started prophesying. No, the Holy Spirit started to use me to speak. And then when they shut me down and persecuted me and had all the armor bearers messing with me and the ushers messing with me, I stopped prophesying, and a little old lady with white hair started prophesying. Then they started messing with her. And a lot of the words she got were words that I had too. Like, you must obey me. I remember she said that word, and she was like freaking out. That was the word of the Lord back then. And Pastor Rodney, knucklehead, Mr. Doctoral degree, Mr. Big Shot Scholar, didn't figure it out. You didn't read the scriptures where the guy gets eaten by a lion, the man of God? I think it's in Chronicles, where he goes and cries against the altar. And then he was told by God to not go back by the way he came. And then another older prophet came and told him, no, we're going to go do this and that and disobey God. How are you going to say you're some sort of Bible scholar and you don't know the scriptures? How are you going to stand up there with a doctoral degree and you don't know the scriptures on speaking in tongues? You don't know the scriptures on obedience? You don't know the scriptures on angel worship and pastor worship? Oh, but you certainly know the scriptures on giving as long as you're the one receiving the offering. And you know the scriptures on submission and authority so long as you're the one who's in authority, ordering everyone around, and anybody who doesn't do what you say, they're in insubordination to God's authority. And let me show you the scriptures about submission and authority. Meanwhile, you just told Eric Gagnon to completely disobey God? I don't know. Confusing to me. So now each flight, like the flight I was on, got rerouted completely. Eric Gagnon never took off. And each aircraft has a bunch of passengers, right? And those passengers represent who would have got saved, right? Or the destination that you're going to. Then they come up with now they had already been doing the gospel script, but if you think that gospel script is going to produce for you in some sort of eternal reward, how is that going to happen? That gospel script is birthed by disobedient people living in disobedience and worshiping angels and getting up there acting like they have some sort of big doctoral degree. Which is nothing but less than an associate's degree. Have I said everything, Lord? Lord said I'm almost done making these videos. It's just basically lashing Pastor Rodney. I think I only get a few views. You know, so not like a lot of people are out there watching my videos.